Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Black Ops 2 In Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be going over my very first map guide ever, where I talk about the map grind. We're going to be talking about this map in the general sense because there are about 6 different game modes, and maybe a lot more than that if you include hardcore, but I'm going to be talking about the spawns, primary, secondary, backup. We're going to be discussing some key locations on this map. We're also going to be discussing some strategies, a few nade spots, a few jump spots, quite a lot of information. I've never done a maps in depth before, so this is sort of a pilot episode. If there's something you'd like to see in the next episode, or if I do something wrong, be sure to let me know. And of course, we're not going to forget the wacky, wavy, inflatable arm flailing flail man, but for now, let's talk about spawns. This is an aerial snapshot of the map pulled straight from theater mode. It's not something from online or from the mini-map, so this is one-to-one accurate with the map. The primary spawns, if you're playing Team Deathmatch, Domination, Demolition, Search and Destroy, Capture the Flag, any of those game types, even Hardpoint, almost forgot that one, your teams are going to spawn somewhere in these red zones. One team is going to spawn in the parking lot / entrance to the map over there, and they can spawn all the way to the side, all the way back, all the way forward. It just kind of depends. Each game mode has them set up a little bit differently, and the other team's going to spawn way in the back by the vert ramps, more or less kind of behind the wall and out of the way, sometimes on the right side, sometimes on the left, just kind of depending on the game type. These are the spawns you're going to see most often, even in TDM, if each team kind of maintains control of the map. Definitely in Domination, Demolition, CTF, these are pretty hard spawns. They don't move around a lot. You do have secondary spawn points that are very close to the original, and while not perfectly symmetrical, they more or less mirror everybody. On the left side, you'll see that the secondary spawn is usually in and around the bathrooms. The primary spawn's pretty big, but if the primary spawn's covered up, they'll usually spawn in the bathroom somewhere. The secondary spawn on the other side of the map is usually in the vert ramp. Most often it's down there near the bottom end, closest to the red, but I have seen people pop up at the other end of the vert ramp. Secondary spawns also include 2 opposing areas on the ends. On the top end of the map, there is an area kind of behind this giant speaker setup by the white van. You'll usually spawn somewhere around the corner, kind of out of the way, so you won't get shot when you spawn. And on the other side, you'll see sometimes people popping up in and around this enclosed half-quarter circle vert ramp thing. I'm not exactly sure what you would call it. And the backup spawns, there are actually a lot of backup spawns on each map. There are quite a few. They're very hard to map and keep track of. But the most common 2 backup spawns you'll see if everything's taken, if bad guys are looking at stuff, because the spawns basically work. They want to spawn you as far away from enemies as possible, outside of lines of sight, and where you won't get easily killed. On the first side of the map, what I'll call Team A, we'll maybe just call them Team A, you usually spawn around the corner by that blue thing where you could use to look directly into the enemy spawn, but you're out of the way and you're behind cover. On the other side, it tends to spawn people closer to the objective for some reason. If the objective is empty, at least, I've had a tendency to pop up and spawn inside the building, just kind of around the corner from whatever objective. I'm thinking B flag in the middle. There are a few more secondary and backup spawns floating around the map, but they're much less common. About 95-98% of the time you'll see players popping up in any one of these key locations. I personally think the most important part of the map to control is the right side. It's easy to camp on, easy to lock down, and you control that oh so important entrance into the middle, which is B flag, or it's just going to be a busy place in any map. I always throw a grenade over this obstruction here, and it usually catches people that are rushing, unless you have somebody that's fast, like this fellow up here, that hopped into what I would call the vert ramp booth. If you get in that, you've more or less got this whole area locked down, because he has a line of sight on just about everything, and the cover on the other side is supposed to be equal and opposing, but it's really not. That is a very, very important position to control if you're on that side of the map, and it's very hard to knock people out of that little crow's nest. I have a few general tips that'll help you on any game mode in this map. My most important and biggest tip is to stick to the outside and avoid the middle. The outside areas have a lot of cover. They're usually hallway or corridor-like, not a lot of flank routes, very easy to lock down, control, understand, and you can always push into the middle and kill people in the middle from there. If you go to the middle, you have about 4 different ways you can die from any sort of situation. It's very dangerous. The objectives are usually in the middle. The shortest way back and forth between the spawns is through the middle, but the middle is the death trap. The middle is very dangerous. I recommend you avoid it and enter into the middle only when necessary. Stick to the areas that you can control. The spawns in this map flip very, very quickly. It's a busy map. There's a lot of cover, a lot of weird looking objects. It's kind of geometrically strange and boggling your mind, but it is essentially a very small map, and if you have aggressive teammates, the spawns can flip very, very quickly, so you need to watch where your teammates are pushing and remember the spawns that I showed you earlier in this map, because it's going to generally spawn people wherever your teammates are not. And if there's 5 of your teammates on one side of the map and you're on the other, guess where the bad guys are spawning? Right behind you. You need to be careful and watch for that. Small maps have a tendency to do this. And this map has a lot of cover, a lot of very odd looking cover, and my recommendation is that you use it and don't fight in the open. Everything in this map looks strange because it's a skate park. It's kind of alienating like Carnival from Call of Duty's past, but there is so much good cover. It's just an absolute shame that more people don't use it. There's no reason for you to fight without at least having half of your body under cover in this map. Up next, we have some very useful grenade and line of sight spots that most people don't think about, but I've got a quick Gamma Labs plug for you. They're doing a buy one, get one free sale, which is about the same as half off, and this weekend is their Zombies Last Stand. It's their big last sales push to get people to sign up. The Zombies contest enrollment thing ends Monday, so if you're interested in buying Gamma Labs on the cheap or doing the Zombies contest thing, now's a good time to buy. Links in the description. If not, don't worry about it. That's totally cool. We're moving on with grenade spots. The first grenade spot that I've got for you today is by far the most practical and the easiest to use. These windows into what I would call B flag or center of the map will net you kills all the time if you throw in frag grenades or C4 or even stun and flash. The middle of the map is always going to be busy no matter what game type you play. I play Domination a lot, so it's especially busy, but it's still the same team deathmatch demolition. I didn't kill anybody here, but I got a lot of hit markers, made everybody 1 to 2 shots to kill, and I mopped them all up with my MSMC. Again, you're not always going to get kills, but you will almost always get a hit marker or shake somebody off the objective or do something, because there's almost always somebody in this room. But that counts both ways. As you can see from the inside, you could throw out through the windows, or you can throw up to the roof and just kind of like bomb people, like drop stuns and flashes on them, come outside, mop them up pretty dadgum easily. You can also do it from over here behind cover. If somebody's taking the flag, you can throw it through this little area. Again, you'll blow people up. Not too terribly difficult to do. The other side also has windows, but I'm going to give this one a very high difficulty rating because you have to throw it past the camera, over the pipe, and let it roll into the flag. We only got this to work just once. It was very, very hard to do. I wouldn't go for that very often. You're not going to hit very many. And on this ledge that looks into the middle, you can throw grenades in through that window. I kind of had to chase this one down. This is also a very difficult one to do, but as you can see from the outside, you just throw up through this window and you can kill people in here. This is more useful if you're going to throw in for like a stun or a flash check, just to make sure that people aren't there when you rush in through the side. And speaking of side, if you're worried about somebody coming up from behind you, you can hop up on this middle, whatever you call it, and hose right through the window. They never see that coming. It's very easy to do. On the left side of the map, you can get behind the van and shoot. It's a little bit difficult when you're going back and forth or when the other guy knew it was coming, but it is still a very easy and clear line of sight. This one is kind of crazy. This one works really great because the shadows play to your advantage and you can't really see the person in the window. You just hop over here behind the computer. You got to scoot out a little bit. It's going to look like you're standing on air. You barely have 1 foot on it. Obviously, with an army of subscribers, I can mow everybody down, but in the actual gameplay, it worked pretty well too. I just hopped up here with my MSMC and I was able to pick off one person. The right side of that doorway is still open. You can still get in trouble, but I knew that was coming, so I hopped down on the right and was prepared to spray. But with 2 people, you can very, very easily lock down that entire door. The next thing that I've got to say is that you are always vulnerable here in the middle. There's no real cover, and you should never rush this window like I just did. I got aggressive. You can see from their point of view, there's not really much to hide behind except for that one little thing, and that doesn't even protect you from grenades. There is a very easy way to assault that window from the other side. You really need a longer ranged weapon, and you can't do this for too long because your left side is vulnerable. But if you go crouch behind this, I don't know what you would call it, like skateboard rack kind of obstruction, from their point of view, they're only going to see the very tippy top of their head and they won't even notice you're there. It's very, very easy to mop people up. Last but not least, this blue foamy sort of thing on the left will obscure your entire body. It's not very good cover, but all they're going to see is the top of your head, and you can pick people off coming out of their spawns very, very easily. Oh, and I almost forgot, in case you want to lock down the front spawn, you can hop up on this trash can, aim down sights, and mow people down as they move out. You don't show much of your body, and you kind of blend in with the light pole that's behind you, so it's not likely that people are going to shoot at you unless you've done it before and they already know you're there. That's all of the most practical lines of sight that we were able to find, and all of the most practical grenade spots. There were a few extra that were too hard to do, only work in a few situations, not that useful, etc., etc. And I decided to focus this map guide on the most practical tips and tricks that I can give you for this map. But I really want your feedback on this episode. This is the most subjective episode of In-Depth I've ever done, the furthest I've strayed away from numbers. I want to hear what you have to say about this sort of format. Do you like the cinematics? Do you not like them? Do you like the gameplay examples? Do you not like them? Are my spots weak? Are my grenade spots weak? You want more of that, less of that? more of the lines of sight. It just kind of depends on what you want. It's where I'm going to take this guide. I kind of like this format. I'm comfortable with this, but I want to hear what you have to say about it. And I also want to hear how you think this stacks up against other map guides, because I like making quality content. I don't like being subpar, sub-average, that sort of stuff. And as always, if you would like a specific map next, I would highly recommend that you send it to me down there in the comments or on Twitter or something. Just let me know which map you'd like to do next. I don't think I'm going to do a DLC map. I'm going to do a regular map that everybody has. And as always, if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. If you'd like to check out my previous episode, which was on auto-centering myths, you can click the box on the left. That'll open in a new window. And in the next episode, I'm going to do a slightly easier one for me on frag versus Simtex while I go through all the feedback from this map guide. And the one after that will be another map guide. Anyway, hope you enjoyed everything. Drifter out.